You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you. I'm glad that you're here with us on this fine Wednesday morning, November the 22nd, 2023. We're grateful to be here with you, and it is the miracle that is Sudbury News Talk each and every morning. There's so many components, so many devices, so much software, and there's internet and all kinds of things that make this happen. And there's a remote studio going into a radio station that's then broadcasting out to the tower that broadcasts out to you. If you're driving, make sure to drive, and you're listening to us, drive safe this morning. I know the conditions have changed rather wintry, rather quickly, and we'll have the weather coming up momentarily, a little update on the weather. But if you're driving in it, you don't really need an update on it. You're already seeing what it is. But anyways, we'll have that. We'll have local headlines this morning, and also a little bit of a news, a deep dive into more federal political news. We had the reading of the budget yesterday on by Chrystia Freeland. I'm just looking here to see what's going on with Facebook. It seems that it's not loading up, but that's fine. It's technology, and there it is now. It just took about 3 refreshes. Speaking of miracles and technology and all that. Okay, there we are. We have a lot of people just jumping on this morning already. I'm glad that you're here with us, as stated earlier. We are on CKLU 96.7 FM, cklu.ca. Online. You can click on the Radio Player Canada app logo. You can listen to us by streaming. You can also download the same Radio Player Canada app. You can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We are Sudbury's campus and community radio station. We've been around since 1984. Started in a very humble trailer at the Laurentian site, the university here in Sudbury. And now we are broadcasting on the corner of Elgin and Elm Street, the old Telegraph building, which is now part of the new MacEwan School of Architecture, all under the guises of Laurentian University here in Greater Sudbury. We're also streaming at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News, and make sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, all those things on our channels and pages. We're also at twitter.com now X, but twitter.com/Sudbury News, Instagram, Sudbury.news. We're going to maybe have a TikTok at some point. I know we have an account, but anyways, we'll be on all things social media, so make sure to check us out there. We're going to dive right into a little bit of weather, and we have a sports update from the Sudbury Wolves, a very special Friday game coming up that you don't want to miss. It's in collaboration with the Shoresy TV show, very popular TV show here in Canada. You want to make sure to get out there and take that in. And and there's much, much more. Local headlines, national news on takeaways from Chrystia Freeland's fall report on the state of the economy, basically, and a very big pat on the back from liberals to liberals. The country hasn't been in any better shape than it's been now. We've come such a long way since 8 years ago when they took power. It's a utopian world, basically, according to Chrystia Freeland. We'll unpack that, all of the positive words that she's had, and see if that's resonated with you. If you feel you're living in a unicorn, utopian, wonderful world since the Liberals have taken power in the country, and everything's great and looking even better in the future. So we'll be back with weather and much more right after this. Stay tuned. And your Sudbury weather, as usual, is brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It's currently -3 degrees out there, but it feels like -6. And today we can expect mainly cloudy with a 40% chance of flurries in the morning with a risk of freezing drizzle. Now, yesterday was, wow. If you were driving at around rush hour, a little before rush hour, a little bit after, perfect timing, by the way, if you wanted to make treacherous road conditions with the most amount of people on the roads in this city. Wow, ice. There was a thin layer of ice disguised on the road. You couldn't see it, but if you tried to accelerate or brake or whatever, you noticed it then. And I'm surprised I saw one truck overturned on the highway, the 4-lane going east from Sudbury. And other than that, I never saw any accidents, but I was surprised to only see the one. Terrible conditions. But anyways, if they're calling for freezing drizzle this morning, you may want to also take precautions today as well, because road conditions might. And I never saw one truck out. I never saw one maintenance truck out there salting the roads. Sorry, I saw one plow. That's right. I did see a plow. And I went back out on the road as well. After coming home from rush hour, I was on Sudbury's roads for about an hour after that, and I never saw any trucks, any salt trucks or plows. So slim pickings, anyways. If there were out there, I wasn't seeing. I only saw the one. So today it'll get up to high of +1. Tonight, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy near midnight. Periods of snow beginning before morning. The low will be -3, wind chill near -5. Tonight, Thursday, tomorrow, periods of snow ending near noon. Cloudy with a 60% chance of flurries. Local amount about 2 centimeters. It will be a high of +1. Wind chill -14 for the afternoon. So a little nippy this time of year with some snow. Winter is upon us. So again, tomorrow, high of 1, periods of snow, sunny on Friday, -11. Sunny on Saturday, high of -1. So it's a little cooler on Friday, and then getting back to more moderate temperatures on the Saturday, but sunny for Friday and Saturday. Chance of flurries, 60% on Sunday, high of -1. And then Monday, Tuesday, cloudy, -5 and -4 respectively. A look at your satellite for those on the radio. It's just full of clouds. All of Northern Ontario is just covered in clouds. And that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with a little sports and news headlines, your comments, much more right after this. Stay tuned. Okay, and a little update on the Sudbury Wolves. There'll be an action this Friday night against the London Knights for their one and only meeting with them here in town. Anyways, this Friday night, London Knights, great team. It'll be a great game. There's no doubt about that, because London Knights always have a good product on the ice. And the Sudbury Wolves, speaking of product on the ice, they are partnering with the Shoresy TV show, and they'll be wearing their jerseys, as you can see in the bottom right corner. If you are watching, those on the radio, it's the Bulldog. It's the team from Shoresy. They're wearing their jerseys, and so they'll return to the Den for the second time. They'll be, donning the Blueberry Bulldogs. That's the team from the Shoresy show, to take on the London Knights Friday, making London's only visit to Nickel City this regular season. Tickets are on sale now at greatersudbury.ca/tickets and at the Sudbury Arena box office. Prior to the game, Representatives from Neo Kids will be presented with a check of last year's fundraising efforts from the partnered game in the amount of $22,000. Members of the Shoresy cast will also be on hand to join them at center ice for the ceremonial puck drop. So it should be a great game, a great cause, Neo Kids. And in Shoresy fashion, the Wolves and the new Metric Media, who are the ones producing Shoresy, have also partnered with Pupper's Golden Lager, the official beer of the hit comedy series Letterkenny, which will be available for purchase throughout the arena, with a portion of the proceeds going towards Neo Kids. The Wolves and the new Metric Media have also teamed up to create Wolves Shoresy t-shirts, which will be available during the game, and a portion of those proceeds also will go to Neo Kids here in Sudbury. Additional Shoresy merchandise will also be available for sale during the game. Get out, support the Sudbury Wolves, support the show that is here, the entertainment industry alive and well in Sudbury with a hit show. The creators of Letterkenny, which is also a hit show. Now the spin-off, Shoresy, is doing very well. Has a huge cult following around the world. Many people from many nations watch the show. And so anyways, get out and celebrate all things Sudbury. This Friday night, 7:05 puck drop at the Sudbury Arena. If for some strange reason you're not able to make it, you can check in. We always have the games right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. We'll be back with news headlines and much, much more right after this. All right, and we are back, and we will just welcome those joining us here on the show as I get this all up and running here. Quite a few people already on. Judy, as usual, first to the Facebook party. Many times you've only been, second or third once or twice. So good morning, Judy. Thanks for being with us. Monique, good rising, exclamation points. Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie. And as usual, liked and shared, and thank you so much for that. Belinda usually has a positive saying of the day. Good morning. Life is like photography. You use the negatives to develop. And always thought-provoking as usual. And Liette, who is also has been joining us for the last little bit from Collingwood. Beautiful area there, Collingwood. Thanks for joining us. And Anne-Marie, good morning, Sudbury, with a smiley emoji donning the shades there. Much appreciated. It's one of my favorite emojis. Vin, good morning. Thanks for being with us. As usual, Belinda, 2 accidents outside of Dowling. Cars leaving the road. Was that from last night as we were talking about the weather? I could imagine. Very, very chilly days in Sudbury. That's Liette. Stay safe for sure. And north or south of Dowling. So Vin was wondering as well. And when did this take place? Is it this morning? Good morning, Leah. Thanks for joining us from Wanapate, all around Greater Sudbury here. We're very thankful for you guys joining us. It's going to be a great conversation this morning. It was last night. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And Pam joining us from YouTube. And I'm glad when we have our YouTube people commenting, because I know there's been times when I was suspect that the comments weren't working on YouTube. So thank you very much for chiming in from there. We really appreciate it. So starting off with our, interesting. Okay, I thought that might be the case. So some headlines coming at you from Sudbury.com. First of all, we'll dive right in there and get that up on the screen here. They have a really great segment on their page. Good morning, Sudbury. Stories to start your day. Each and every day, it's usually the later stories from yesterday, or the more important ones from yesterday. But you start your day at least knowing a little bit of what's going on around Greater Sudbury. So the headline here is Library Art Gallery costs estimated at $68.8 million. The cultural hub at Tom Davies Square is slated to carry a total budget of $68.8 million and open by the end of 2026. That is, pending City Council approval, with their next decision point scheduled for the 28th of November meeting. The proposed budget exceeds City Council's City Council direction to limit the project to $65 million. In a report tabled this week, Senior City Project Manager Facilities Large Capital Nick Zinger outlined the latest information on the long-discussed Central Library / Art Gallery of Sudbury. The project would take shape at City Hall, and most municipal operations would shift to 199 Larch Street, which the city owns, and the library / art gallery's multicultural facility transforms an already iconic iconic public building and sparks a revitalization of Sudbury's historic downtown by reimagining the city center building into approximately 86,000 square feet of iconic architecture, according to Zinger's report. Now, there's a lot of selling words there. Like it's those are selling words. Those are like selling it to somebody. I was wondering as I was reading the report here. So it, I guess, will transform an already iconic public building and spark a revitalization in Greater Sudbury's historic downtown. A lot of colorful, salesy type words there. So definitely Nick Zinger, if he's not working for the city at some point, he'd definitely have a career in marketing. No doubt about that. But maybe it's true. I don't know. Maybe it will revitalize the downtown and bring new life, and revitalize a historic downtown and bring new life to it. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see here. No one goes to the library. Why are we spending the money? So that's Leandre. So, yeah, I think that question has been posed already, I think, by many people, other than the people that maybe work at the library or work at the city. Yeah. The idea of an art gallery with a library is a cool idea. I don't know about 70 million cool, costing taxpayers, but I don't know. I don't know how much of that is taxpayers' money, how much has already been pre-budgeted, how much has already been taken out and earmarked for this project. As I know, Natalie Labby, when she's on the show, will kind of keep us up to speed on that, because you just say taxpayers' money, but some of it could be grants and some of it from various, whether federal or provincial, so we don't know how much of it is, I don't at this moment. So, but it's a lot of money. And the question was, again, no one goes to the library, which is a statement. And the question is, why are we spending this money? So it's a good question. And I think councillors are aware of this question that has been posed to them, and people that work at the city as well. Now, they've already come down. It was $100 million. They were going to make a standalone building right downtown where the Sudbury Theatre Centre is. But they've clawed that back and said, maybe not. Maybe we'll build it in the Tom Davies building and we won't spend as much money. So Judy says it's a waste of money. Jerome, good morning. Boy, those studded tires really make the difference. Better check the nut holding the wheel for sure. Yeah, to be safe for sure. You want to make sure when you get your winter tires on, they take off your summer tires or whatever, put the winters on. And so you're supposed to check after, I think it's 100 kilometers of driving or something, to just retighten retighten your tires. So Belinda says, wonder how many homeless people will utilize the library? Well, I'm sure many, to keep warm, to come in and keep warm, or the art gallery and the art gallery. Be nice if things were prioritized just once. Okay. That's a legitimate comment, and much appreciated. Okay. Oh, the studded tires are illegal in the South, Marianne is saying, and that is true. I think they do a little bit of damage to the asphalt. However, on ice, winter tires won't even help you. So I think the studded tires are your only option for icy roads. So Leah says, imagine what the money could do for the homeless, or do for a homeless shelter that could support more off the poverty. Could support more off the poverty in Sudbury. It would clean up the streets more. So many homeless seniors out there, not just addicts now. And that whole spell checker thing and autocorrect and whatever when people are typing, I'll do my best to translate it in the future. But you're basically saying there's a lot of homeless and, a lot of seniors out there that are homeless. And they're not just addicts. And the money could probably go more towards something like that rather than a library art gallery. Nobody will go downtown, Judy says. And Marianne says, as those counselors go to their warm homes and bed, money can be better spent helping those less fortunate. They need a reality check, just saying. That's Marianne. And Pam says, I use the library, rather borrow books than buy books. There you go. So thanks for sharing that, Pam. And I know there are many people who do use the library. Do we need a $70 million library, though? So are the services that you're using at the library sufficient for your needs? Do you feel that we should invest in this? Would you utilize it? Would you utilize it more than you do now, kind of thing? Leah says it keeps... okay. Exactly. The autocorrect is crazy. So Greater Sudbury going forward with our library that's been very controversial for quite some time. We have the internet. We don't need a library, Leandre says. So that's true to many people. But like Pam was saying, she's still a bookworm. She still likes to get her books. A lot of people like the book, like to have it in their hand. And it's easier on the eyes. The blue light can be damaging to your eyes too. Believe me, I know it. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens and one screen behind me. Lem, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Liette says, I was recently downtown in Sudbury and was shocked how it has changed. Felt like I was in Detroit. What happened? Well, Sudbury, I guess, has a reputation around Canada to a lot of the homeless community that it's a place where you can get access services a lot quicker. It's developed a reputation. I don't know how. I don't know who started it. I don't even know if it's true, if services are better here or not. That's just the word we're getting on the street, no pun intended. And that they're being told from the municipalities they're living in, and a lot of them are getting bus tickets that are paid for to come directly to Sudbury. And so we've had quite an accumulation over the recent years of homeless population coming to Sudbury. And as they had a community downtown right beside Tom Davies Square. Well, they were forced out of that by the city, and now they're kind of more sparsely taking up the wooded areas around downtown, and even as far as in Valley East, I've seen many people coming out of whatever wooded area and making their way either towards downtown or towards some services or whatever. So the homeless are kind of branching out in Greater Sudbury, and we'll see what that means in the future to us as a city and how that's going to affect us. But yeah, that's kind of what's happened, and not sure why. Pam says libraries in the South have been recording a recording studio in them. People can reserve and use them for free. Maybe get one of those. So yeah, like do your podcast. Maybe you can have like little studios to go in and have the services to do a podcast for free or something, right? People to teach you how to do that. As libraries try to modernize, that's a good idea. Also saying libraries can have services offered if they are big enough to house those services. Correct. So I think you're a proponent for that. You're an advocate for the library. Leah says, I remember as a kid, we'd go to the library to use the computer. Now it's at our fingertips. Seems like a waste of resources. Times have changed. That's Leah. It's a direct result of those in charge. You're speaking of the homeless aspect of things. Because we got two things going on here. We got the library, is there a need? And then the money could be spent for people that are experiencing homelessness. And, so two different kind of angles coming here on the comments. Kitchener and Hamilton, this is Pam again, London, etc. Libraries all have recording studios and dance rooms people can reserve and use for free. Interesting. Leah says, Sudbury looks like Detroit. I'm born and raised in Windsor. When I came here last year, I felt like I was in Detroit. Well, that's interesting, at least your perspective, and I really appreciate you sharing that. Those of us who've lived in Sudbury, maybe all of our lives or most of our lives, and are just experiencing this for the first time and go downtown and go, wow, this is like, whoa, there's a lot of people here congregating that are homeless. And there's no judgment against homeless people at all. It's just we're getting, a significant population of people experiencing homelessness, and we can see it. And Detroit has long been known for their financial struggles and their economic woes, I think being the first American city to go bankrupt. And, and to compare that, from your own point of view, seeing that growing up in right across the river in Windsor and visiting Detroit and seeing that and then comparing that downtown Sudbury to Detroit, I think should be an eye-opener for those who are decision makers here in this city. So if Sudbury will spend millions on a new library, I hope we get some cool services, exactly, to go along with it, not just the library. So maybe make it worth it, is what you're saying, Pam. $70 million invested in a library and art gallery. This is Belinda. Dear Lord, dear God, where are our taxpayers' money going? Council just seems to be focused on downtown Sudbury. Do they not ever listen to the taxpayers? Good question. Liette says, Sudbury was such a beautiful community. What I saw was saddening and unbelievable. Downtown Sudbury needs to be cleaned up before a library is built. Leah goes on to say, it's because no one can afford life, especially seniors. A lot of truth here. I've lived and worked in downtown Sudbury, and there is no judgment, but it's the city I remember. It's sad. True, and no judgment. You guys are so great on this show commenting. You're so respectful, and anyone who would say because you're critical of the social climate in this city, and it's not just the city, by the way, we know that. You can be critical of it and want it to be better without other people accusing you of being judgmental to those who are experiencing it and being affected by policies that are made, decisions that are made. Money is spent in certain ways and not prioritized. So there's no judgment to those who are affected by it. The only judgment is, why aren't we doing something about it? Or why can't something be done? Right? And it's amazing I have to go out of my way to just say it like that in a world we live in now, where it's very polarized and people are accusing each other of things that aren't true rather than just listening to what people are actually saying. Unfortunately, AJ, it's worse it will be worse. It'll get worse as inflation gets higher. That's Marianne for sure. Not to mention the roads in Sudbury. Wow. Yeah, for sure. You know what, though? I was in Windsor 2 summers ago, and there was roads in Windsor that were similar to Sudbury. And when I'm out of Sudbury, I'm very aware of how bad Sudbury's roads are, and then I'm also equally as aware of how good other centers' roads are. And Windsor had some bad roads. Some of the main roads as you come in from the east, you come in from the other side, it's Detroit, right? So, just coming in from, maybe it's from Sarnia kind of thing. 8 years of Trudeau's God is here with the homeless. 8 years, a Trudeau's God is here with the homeless. Interesting statement. Exactly. Our gravel side roads are in better shape than their streets. Sad for those who drive them every day, for sure. Prioritize is the key word, Vin. 100% there. And let's see. There's a headline here that caught my attention on Sudbury.com. It's their last one, I think. Oh, it doesn't look like it's from Sudbury, but anyways, we talked about the mayor's tree lighting ceremony going to be taking place on December the 1st here in Sudbury. They're going to light the tree. And I thought, isn't that controversial these days? Couldn't that be offensive to some people? And so why would you do that? You know what I mean? Even though I think it's perfectly fine to have tradition and culture to carry on in that. And I don't think a Christmas tree is offensive, but I've been hearing it from other people and whatever, certain schools of thought have suggested that. I thought, there might be some controversy over this Christmas tree lighting that we're doing here in Sudbury. But here we go. Christmas tree, Aurelia's tree lighting sparks controversy. So not in Sudbury, but in Aurelia. Anticipation hung heavy in the air Friday night as hundreds of people gathered around the Aurelia Opera House for the annual tree lighting ceremony that serves as an unofficial kickoff to the Christmas season. Wide-eyed kids and adults alike turned their attention to the big evergreen tree as Mayor Don McIsaac led a countdown to the big moment, as we're going to be doing here in Greater Sudbury, December the 1st, correct? But the big moment became a big letdown as, to everyone's surprise, only the trunk of the tree was lit up. Okay, so the controversy is why all the lights didn't come on. Some started a second countdown, hoping it was just a glitch. It was not. It was very disappointing, said the Aurelia Matters reader Linda Wiltsey, echoing the sentiments of many who found the whole thing underwhelming. And it didn't help that McIsaac's microphone didn't work either. Okay, not controversy in terms of a social, faux pas or whatever that, a tree could represent. It had to do with the technical issues. The lights didn't work and his microphone didn't work. But let's hope that's a lesson for us in Greater Sudbury. We make sure everything is going to work December 1st as we do the same thing. Belinda says, this is our winter of discontent. What is the city doing for these people who are sleeping outside in these harsh elements? Monique says, in a land of plenty, homeless seniors is a crime against humanity. I would tend to agree with that. That is shameful. Homeless services are needed if every person who feel for the homeless were to take 1 to 2 people. Imagine the amount of homeless that it would take off the street. Actions speak louder than words. It's true. This is an industry in some ways. It's hard to say it in that way, but there is money to do with homeless, and there's organizations that benefit from the funding and whatever, and it is an industry. And sometimes it's hard to do simple things, but at the same time, shouldn't prevent people from actually just getting out and doing something about it, taking it upon yourself. Okay. For sure, we'll just get some of the comments up here for those watching. You can read them. And if you're listening on the radio, you can always go back and watch our show on demand from Facebook or YouTube. Currently, it's still there. It's a miracle. We won't always be on YouTube and Facebook, but for now we are. So we're grateful for that. You can go back and see everyone's comments. I did my best to read as many of them as I could. And a couple local headlines here. Going now to Sudbury.news, seeing what's on there. Laurentian among several Ontario universities to get new spots to train nurse practitioners. That's from Sudbury Star. Also from the Sudbury Star, Sudbury Board of Health approves a new strategy plan and budget, takes first steps towards mergers with other units. That's right, we're going to be merging apparently it's a Doug Ford government thing that we're going to merge health units together to create. I think it's 17 across the province, something like that, to amalgamate our health services in Ontario. So we're already making steps towards that. Okay, any other construction season winds down in Sudbury as winter sets in. A busy construction season is coming to a close in Sudbury. That's from CTV, Northern Ontario. There's some charges to people for impaired, if you want to know more about that, from different crashes that took place across the region. Cambrian College takes home gold at the Ontario College's marketing competition. Pretty awesome. This year's medal count brings it to 10, 2 gold, 3 silver, and 5 bronze. The number of medals won by Team Cambrian since 2018. Yes, they do get together and have competitions for different fields of study, let's say. So marketing took home the gold, and way to go. We do have some pretty amazing students at Cambrian. There's no doubt about that. And I'm just going to get Ryan's. I don't see a lot of comments from Ryan on here. So I always believed empty churches should open their doors to the homeless. That's a great suggestion for sure. And churches, usually are the ones that will come together naturally to help out with this. But is our federal government, what are they doing to help the situation? Are they helping the situation? Does inflation have anything to do with the state of our economy? Is the carbon tax and the plans to fight climate, is that going to help our homeless as well in any way, shape, or form? We're not sure, but anyways, this is a take on from Sun Media a few days ago. I think it's already like 4 or 5 days old, but a little bit talking about the carbon tax, like what's happening, what are we doing there? And we'll have a little peek at this. We'll be back right after it.
I think we're headed for a general election in Canada in 2024. And I think there's a lot of parallels between this election and the 1993 election that saw the Liberals sweep the Progressive Conservatives out of power and start up with a huge majority. In fact, that's what I think is going to happen this time. Barring some sort of catastrophe, I think the Conservatives are going to sweep the Liberals out of power and have their own very large majority government. There's an awful lot of parallels. For instance, in 1993, we were at the end of a couple of years of recession, and voters were cranky about the economy. I think voters are cranky about the economy now. Housing is unaffordable for most people. Inflation is way too high, and the Liberal government doesn't seem to be able to do anything to control it. The cost of living is becoming more and more unaffordable every day, and the Liberals' response to that is to increase taxes. So I think that there are some parallels there. There's also some parallels on the national unity front. You remember in 1993, the Mulroney government had just lost the Charlottetown Accord, and that was very divisive in the country as a whole. I think the Liberal government is just as divisive now under Justin Trudeau as the Mulroney government was. They have angered the West. They have angered Atlantic Canada now. And I think that this is a recipe for a Liberal disaster. But I think the big thing is the carbon tax. I think the carbon tax is the Liberals' GST. In 1993, the Conservatives had just brought in the GST. It was very unpopular. It made sense to economists. There were arguments to be made that consumption taxes were superior to income taxes. The carbon tax, too, is a consumption tax. There are arguments to be made that that's superior to an income tax. But it has become horribly unpopular. And then the Liberals went and made the massive mistake of giving one region of the country a holiday from the carbon tax, but not the other regions of the country. And that has simply blown the cover off of their carbon tax. I think the carbon tax now is every bit as unpopular with voters as the GST was in 1993. And so I think the carbon tax has become the issue that is going to defeat the Liberals. And there's one other parallel between 93 and 2023 that should scare the Liberals. And that is, you'll remember, the Conservatives were not being led in 1993 by Brian Mulroney, who had worn out his welcome with voters. They were being led by Kim Campbell, who came in and was supposed to reinvigorate the party. A new leader, get rid of the old unpopular leader, bring in a new leader, and she will keep them relevant. They won 2 seats. 2 seats. It was the largest single defeat by any governing party in a Western country since 1900. So the Liberals can think, well, let's get rid of Trudeau and we'll bring in Mark Carney or Chrystia Freeland or someone else, and they will save us. I think voters are as tired of the Liberals in 2023 as they were of the Progressive Conservatives in 1993, and I think no matter who leads the Liberals, the election that will be held next year will be a huge loss for them.
So there you go. They're just talking about some of the things, the state of our country, list of them. There's few. Housing, inflation. So our economy alone is taking a bashing. Now, Chrystia Freeland yesterday basically gave her speech about the economy, and it sounded like everything was rosy, like there was no problems. Everything's great. Nothing to see here. We're doing our best. Everything's going great. We're doing our best. All of our initiatives, since the really bad policies and leadership of the Conservatives under Harper, the world's a way better place now. And that's what basically her speech was. I was listening to it and just going, wow, you're just digging in your heels. What are you believing? Like, you don't see this country, when Andrew Scheer was in town, he was downtown. He came downtown. And so he was right in the midst of seeing what we were talking about, like downtown Sudbury looks like Detroit. And walking around, going to different places, and then did an interview with CBC Radio Canada and other things in the studio downtown. He walked around downtown. He saw it with his own eyes. Like, even though they're living in the bubble in Ottawa, they still see. They still know. They know. They get the reports. But to actually then turn around and speak to Canadians as if they don't know anything was really incredible. I was like, what planet are you from? Oh, everything's great. We have all these programs on to the Conservatives. Everything was bad, but we do everything right, and everything's great now, and we're doing all this for housing. Not mentioning one thing about, maybe we overstepped the immigration a little bit. Maybe we're a little bit too excited about immigration, and we brought too many people in without really thinking of infrastructure first. But now we're that's speaking as if you actually know something. And admitting a little bit of what you did. And then I could actually go, wow, these guys are at least, they got me thinking now. Maybe they do know something or whatever. But nothing. It's all just, it reminds me of communism, where the leader or the emperor has no clothes, right? They believe something so much that they just keep spewing this stuff. That Canada's the best place in the world. That's what she ended her speech with, after giving all this, basically lying the whole time, that the economy is in great shape and they have all these great financial policies, and we're coming out of we're avoiding a recession. That's not what economists are saying. They're saying we're going to have a really bad recession. She's saying we're totally, because of their policies, we're going to avoid a recession, and that inflation is coming down. She said inflation is coming down as we speak. But that's not the truth. So again, if she was to say, now, despite inflation rising, we have these things in place or whatever to help it. Well, okay, that's, good. Inflation is rising and you have some answers to it. That at least shows you know what the heck you're talking about. And I might even buy into that. But I can't just buy into out and out blatant lies that the economy is doing great. It's not. And you don't have any plans. And if you look at the number of immigration, love immigrants, we're all immigrants at one time, including going as far back as you can imagine on this land. Everyone came here from somewhere. However, the way that people are coming here now is more man-made than maybe organic. And so you have to take ownership of your decisions to bring people here as fast as you are. So 500,000 people, new people a year, 500,000 people a year is what the goal is, and what, they're pretty much there. But we don't have the housing to keep up with that. We don't have that. And so you don't see a link between that and not having enough housing. And maybe that could, all the dots are connected, that somehow has something to do with why there's so many people experiencing homelessness in Canada, and they can't afford a home because now homes are way more expensive because it's supply and demand. And I heard someone on CBC say, well, you can't say it's because of immigration. Now, don't even say it's because of immigration, because it's not about that. And then let's now start the conversation about why we have inflation and a homeless crisis. So they set the playing field by saying we're not even going to acknowledge it's about immigration. So we can't even talk about that. Now let's talk about why we have a housing crisis and all that. Again, so it's like, what is this? Like, where are you getting this stuff from? And I found a little sparring back and forth from a conservative MP with a liberal MP showing how this country is divided. It's so divided. And one side's calling the other one conspiracy people, even just saying truth, it's a conspiracy. So if I was now to say that inflation is not on the rise, according to Chrystia Freeland, it's not, right? So if I say, yes, it is that a conspiracy theory? Like, if you go against, you say something different than what the government is saying, it's a conspiracy theory. So again, and listen, and it's hard for people, unless you really think for yourself and you really do a little bit of homework and you kind of wake up, splash some cold water on your face and really know the state that you live in. You live in a socialist country. It just is. You live in a socialist country. That's the type of governance we have. We have paid for by the government things. Socialism is where the government provides more services than the private sector does for main services like healthcare. We have more regulations in terms of banking. The government invests in the future more than the private sector. We're more government, everything, big government. Government answers everything. We're a socialist country, getting more and more. And we're turning into, which is like the trajectory of most socialist governed places, have the tendency of the next step is communist, which a lot of people don't even really know what that means, right? But socialism is just a step towards communism. Good morning, Denise. Thanks for joining us. So here we have a back and forth. Now, you might say, oh, yes, when you hear the first person. And then afterwards, you hear, and then here's Colette coming on, laughing at everything I'm saying. And, well, Colette, all you have to do instead of laughing is just give, like, if I'm saying something that's not true, just come on and comment, because that's not very polite to just laugh at somebody when they say something. But you can get into respectful debate with somebody. If you feel you're on the right side of something, you can easily come on and just say it, and it's not a problem, right? So, but if you just want to sit in the shadows and laugh at things and poke fun of and things like that, you're not helping my point of view of people that sit on the far left, that you tell people like you believe climate change is the biggest monster that's coming here. You believe all that, right? You believe CBC. And so if someone says, like we had on the show yesterday, a scientist, a renowned geologist from Australia, the most renowned one from Australia, says, now tell me when we started warming on the planet, at what particular point, if you're taking the data. Because you say the climate's warming at this, the UN just came out and said a bunch of things, right? So if you think for yourself, you think, well, is the UN always right? Are governments always right? So if you just take what they say, you now put yourself in a position of being vulnerable to be taken over by a totalitarian communist government who's just telling you lies, and you allow them to take control. So if you don't think for yourself and you don't know truth from error yourself, you'll just be subject to other people exploiting you and telling you things rather than you learning and knowing things. So can you tell me when in our Earth's history the climate started warming? And I'm speaking directly to Colette, who I know believes everything about climate change and what our government says about it, and believes that we need to tax ourselves into fighting the climate and somehow it's going to help ourselves, right? You laugh when I say something like that. So tell me exactly when the climate started warming on the planet. Like, which ice age are you talking about? You know, so let's have a real conversation instead of just hiding behind a curtain and laughing. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't help what I feel. I feel far left people do, and they can't engage in a conversation. They get mad and say, oh, I can't talk anymore, and they walk out of the room. Oh, you're just one of those. And they can't talk for themselves because I believe they're programmed. They're programmed to just believe what they're told and go to official government websites, go to the universities and take things that other people have done and not look into it for themselves. I knew that would poke Stephen, who needs to be canceled. I'll do that today. But you just are calling anyone who disagrees a hater? No, that's not true. So no, I'm not calling you a hater. I'm telling you, if you believe in climate change, which I know you do, the alarmism side of it, climate is changing all the time. I believe in that. Just tell me at what date did it begin to start warming? So that way we can know from that point on. You know, it's easy to say if our climate is warming and it's alarming and it's going to kill everyone off. We saw that on yesterday's show. If you haven't seen it, you didn't comment on yesterday's show. Go back and watch it. And you tell me, like that the scientist, a renowned scientist, asked people who believe it to just tell them in what date did our climate start warming? So you just need to answer that because you do know it is, right? You've done your own research. You know the climate's warming to an unprecedented level. You agree that we need to tax ourselves into poverty in order to save the planet. So you just need to tell us at what date did the climate start warming? It's pretty simple. Another question I would ask is what percentage of man's doing has to do with how much carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere? What was our contribution to the climate? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? You know, all these things should be answered before we go at making drastic policies that are going to impoverish, and that's what it's going to do, impoverish countries that have countries, and it's going to prevent those who are have-not countries from getting out of poverty. That's what these policies are going to lead to economically. And I can say that now, going through my master's of business, currently the things that I'm learning, so I'm not just taking secondhand information, I'm taking economic data and looking at it. If we now only take wind and solar that doesn't really work, and we only invest in these things, nuclear might, if we actually did that. So again, you watch the whole show, Stephen, so tell us what date the Earth started getting warm, please. When did it start getting warmer? What date? Okay? You won't listen to the answer. The carbon tax puts the cost on CO2 so that corporations switch away from carbon-producing energy. You can't answer the question, Stephen. I'm sorry. You didn't answer it. At what point did the climate start warming? When did it start warming? 10,000 years ago? 100,000 years ago? 1 billion years ago? 100 years ago? Because as far as I've seen, the climate has gotten cooler and gotten warmer over all of that time. So you can. So do it, Stephen. What date, when did the climate start warming that we're looking at, that we're so worried about? It started warming on what date? See, you're just, again, you're solidifying my point of view on you can't come to the debate. You can't talk. You just spew propaganda, and that's it. You take propaganda and you laugh at other people who say anything other than the propaganda. So I'm sorry, but you need to own your own mind or not. If your mind is not for sale to any god or government, like Neil Peart from Rush said, then you can think for yourself. But until then, you're giving your power over to someone else. But that's fine. So again, right? You're just arguing instead of, so you're just name calling and you're deflecting. Just give me a date, Stephen. It's pretty simple. You're acting like Justin Trudeau when Pierre Poilievre is asking him a question in Parliament. He just keeps going around and around and around and never answers the question. So speaking of that, let's just take a listen. This will be hard for you, Stephen, to watch, so you might want to get out of the broadcast. Here's a little bit of sparring that goes on in our House of Commons, all about division. But at the same time, listen to what's being said. It's pretty interesting. Bye, Stephen.
Madam Speaker, after 8 years, the Socialist Coalition's House of Climate Cards is collapsing. Courts have ruled much of this radical government's authoritarian agenda unconstitutional. It's been alarming to watch as this gang of socialists purge the small L Liberals from the dead-named Liberal Party, where the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that mass murderers don't deserve a single life sentence. I despaired that even our justice system had surrendered to radical woke ideology. Yet somehow, even this far-left government found the limits of what Canadian courts would accept. In just a few weeks, we've seen the Prime Minister admit his carbon tax is making life unaffordable for Canadians. The courts have struck down the Liberal law that claimed the federal government could impose its impact assessment on your kid's lemonade stand. Now the courts have found the Liberals acted unconstitutionally when they declared plastics were toxic. What did this Prime Minister think would happen when he put a man who vandalizes the homes of premiers in cabinet? The Roman emperors famously hired the Vandals to provide security to the empire, only to have the eternal capital of Rome sacked. Our own self-styled Caesar thought he could bring the radical climate activists into his liberal empire, only to have them lay siege to our Constitution. Now, this self-confessed socialist and unrepentant vandal has promised Canadians he would resign rather than see any other Canadians get a break on their heating bills. Tomorrow, senators will have a choice. They can choose to cut the carbon tax on farmers who feed us, or they can reveal themselves as champagne-sipping socialists who sneer at hardworking Canadians. If they vote to lower food prices, the Minister for Climate Radicalism will have to make a choice. Is he still the same hardcore radical activist who was willing to repeatedly break the law in support of his principles? Or has he become the prototypical arrogant liberal who thinks he's indispensable? Only time and tomorrow's vote will tell. While we don't know whether the radical principled activist or the arrogant liberal minister will show up tomorrow, we do know this prime minister is getting increasingly desperate. And a desperate liberal is a dangerous liberal. This prime minister would tear the country apart if he thought it would keep him in power. He's already dispatched his foot soldiers armed with worn-out cliches. We saw this approach from the parliamentary secretary during my last adjournment debate. The member from Milton claimed my videos were taken down from YouTube because of his conspiracy theories. Madam Speaker, any Canadian can still find all my videos on YouTube, and I would encourage them to Google it, but that won't be an option in Canada much longer. Only arrogant liberals can accuse their opponents of holding nefarious hidden agendas while claiming we push conspiracy theories with a straight face. Hidden agenda is a liberal dog whistle for progressive conspiracies. I've always been clear with Canadians, there are no secret agendas or shadowy cabals when it comes to these liberals. They're not hiding anything. The radical environment minister doesn't hide his plans with the communists to control China. He posts them online and promotes it in the press. The minister isn't hiding his socialism. He admits it openly and proudly. Socialists have been appropriating climate change to decolonize capitalism.
And that is the main reason. We've talked about that at length on the show over time. They have a radical agenda, and it's pretty much out there for those who just want to see it. And then the policies go along with it. You can say, why did they make a policy like that? Why would they do that? What, doesn't the government care about me? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Just look at what they believe in, and then you know why they're making those decisions. So thank you very much for joining us. Still waiting for Stephen's answer. We'll just give him the whole day to come up with that answer. Miles already did. He Googled the answer, got the Google answer. So thank you very much for that, Miles. Appreciate it. Great conversation today. Appreciate all of you. We'll be back, God willing, same time, same place tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Have a great Wednesday. See you on Thursday. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.